Welcome to the second Vohra method training video for Vohra method instructors. Today we're going to talk about emotional control and the Vohra method. This is an area where I've tried out a lot of things. I've learned from a lot of you guys. I've seen so many situations in which a student is just not working really well with me, but works really well with Terrence or Mercedes or Steven, Megan, John, a lot of you guys. And I've noticed that there are things that emotionally work very well, and I wanted to compile them into this instructional video. Here's a fact. Teaching in this Vohra method style, because we are pushing people to their cognitive limits, is going to get people frustrated. It is going to sometimes get people angry. It is going to often create a kind of sense of oppositionalness. Students who feel frustrated that they don't know something, or they feel like we're attacking them by giving them worksheet, will often present that in a very oppositional way. And so the natural response in that situation is to respond with greater opposition. That's certainly something that I think we've all tried. I've certainly tried that. And generally, it doesn't work that well. Sometimes it will address the immediate issue of the student's specific behavior at that moment, but it's not really teaching the student. It's not really helping the student grow. It's a confrontational and negative thing that doesn't really help the student. It doesn't help the student grow in the long run in any significant way. It also doesn't really fix that specific problem of the oppositionalness in the long term or the medium term, because all it says is that this to the student, that this wasn't oppositional enough. I need to be more crazy the next time, or I need to be more angry the next time, or more pretending like I can't see the Skype chat the next time. And so what I found has worked, it's worked for me, and I've observed it working for many of you, is not giving the student that kind of power over the emotional state. In other words, make it clear to the student that the student simply does not have the power to influence you at all emotionally. I've seen that so many of you guys have done this brilliantly, where no matter what the student does, no matter what the student says, you respond positively, you respond encouragingly. It doesn't mean you're particularly nice. I mean, you're still saying, well, this answer is wrong, so either you can, take another guess, or you can do this worksheet. But when it's done in a calm, safe, kind of non-threatening way, one, students work faster, two, they get more done over time, and three, it keeps the entire situation in a sort of a calm, controlled, safe type of experience. So the first thing we need to understand is this. If you have a situation between two people, one person's calm and the other person's acting all crazy, the calm person is the one that's in control. The person who's making the other person crazy is in control. So you don't want to be the person who's getting made crazy. If anything, you want to be the person who's making the other person crazy. Well, that's not exactly the goal here. So how might that work in a real setting? So suppose a student says, I don't know how to do this problem. And let's say you know that they clearly know how to do it. They're just tired, and they're stressed out from school and life and everything, and they just don't want to do it right now. So what you could do is you could, yell at them, or you can say, that's no problem at all. I understand sometimes people forget things. Let's do this worksheet. What you'll see happen in the second situation where you just give the student the worksheet is that immediately they'll say, no, let me take a guess. Compare that to the other situation where you're like, no, take a guess. What happens? You end up kind of like begging the student to take a guess, right? You're like, guess. No, take another guess. I'll give you a candy cane if you take a guess. That second situation has now put the student in control, because you are essentially begging the student, more or less like a dog, to do a behavior. You don't have any leverage, right? You're not negotiating. You're just begging. On the other hand, if you give the student the worksheet, now the student is asking you, saying, no, let me take another guess. So the student is now asking to take a guess instead of you asking the student to take that guess. So one, it's going to keep you in control of the situation. It's going to actually make the student move faster through the program. It's going to benefit the student. It kind of creates a positive atmosphere. It benefits everybody. The second thing we need to realize is that if there is an emotional battle, that's going to create delay. Because if you're saying, well, you have to do this, and then the student can be like, well, why, or I don't want to, or all that kind of stuff, and then you get into that back and forth, right? And what's happening? The student's basically managing to burn up time. You don't want the student to be able to stall out the clock of class. If they're there for 2 hours, we want them working for 2 hours, not working for 10 minutes and arguing or fighting for an hour and 50 minutes. So that idea of total calm responses to everything makes it so that the student doesn't really have the option of responding. So all the student can do is do the initial statement, you give the worksheet, and then they can either ask to take another guess or they can do the worksheet. There's no back and forth that wastes a bunch of time. So that's why we want to always be creating a choice. And that's the alternative, by the way, to an emotional response is creation of a choice. Here's what that looks like. It can be like, that's no problem. You can either try this again, or I can just give you the worksheet. Or you can say, yeah, I'm going to give you another 3 minutes to try this out. And if you can't get it done in 3 minutes, that's no big deal. We'll just do the worksheet. So again, now the student might know that they have a time constraint, that they might know that they have 3 minutes to do this, otherwise they get the worksheet. That's very different from saying, do this in 3 minutes or else. Because the or else means what? Or else you'll get angry? Well, why would they care? I mean, most of their parents yell at them all day long anyway. I mean, they're used to that. That's not going to make any difference. So the simple thing is to always, no matter what they're saying, give them that alternative. The alternative doesn't have to be a worksheet, right? The alternative can be, you can try again. Otherwise, I'll just email your parents and or something like that. So let's say a student is pretending that their video camera doesn't work, right? You don't have to say, turn on your video camera or else. You can say, well, if your video camera is not working, that's no problem. I'll just text your mom and let her know. Or if the student is just watching TV, you can say, "Oh, that's no problem. You can either stop watching TV, or I can just text your parent." Or if the student is just lying in bed instead of at a desk and doesn't seem interested in moving, you can say, "Well, you can either move to a desk within 1 minute, or I'll just email your dad, or I'll email your mom, or send them a text message." So again, you're always creating an alternative. That way, the student is given a choice between two alternatives instead of a choice between following instructions and fighting you. So instead of the other option to being to argue with you, the other option is to deal with the other consequences, whether that's a worksheet, whether that's an email to mom or dad, whether it's a text message to their parents, whatever it is, the other option is something that they have to choose from. There's a phrase that I really like, kill them with kindness. What does that mean? It means that no matter what a person does or says, you respond calmly and politely. It's an exercise we do in politics a lot when you're expecting a very oppositional group at an outreach booth or something like that. And you'll practice, somebody will say just the most incendiary, insulting things they can, and you practice responding politely and calmly. And you will be surprised how hard it is to be the attacker in that situation. Because eventually, if the other person is just super polite, you just run out of stuff to attack them about. It's so hard to maintain. It's going to be the same for students. If we're just constantly calm and polite and say, that's no problem, here's the thing. Or if they ask for an explanation for a thing, a lot of times students will say, why can't I use a calculator? Mostly because they just want to create a delay. What can you say? We'll say, that's no problem. We can talk about that in a free consultation after class. We can do it with you by yourself or with you and your parents. So again, you're always creating that option, and you're always responding to anger or frustration or just antics or whatever with calm kindness. I've seen so many of you guys use it that I've myself started doing this, and it's making a big difference for me too. Let's talk about the power of humor. You have to understand, we've all been in school. We know how stressful it can be. You get these assignments that don't make any sense. You have all this busy work. You have your parents yelling at you to do the busy work. You're so flabbergasted that sometimes you forget your jacket somewhere. Now your parents are yelling at you because you forgot your jacket. You're just under so much pressure. You're just under so much tension. And that's where a tiny bit of humor, not used excessively, but a tiny bit of humor to diffuse the situation, can make a very large difference. I've seen this definitely with some of the students who initially seemed just very difficult to really get them to do anything at all, that you tell some minor silly joke, just something ridiculous, and it kind of like diffuses the situation. It breaks the ice. They feel a little relaxed, and then they can do stuff. See, that's the thing to realize is that when you're calm, we all know this. If you're calm and relaxed, you can be more productive. I know that some people say they work well under pressure. I'm a person that works well under pressure, but if you look at what it means that when I'm in a high pressure situation, I have a muscle memory of becoming very calm. So I just get calm under pressure, and thus I work well under pressure. But the principle is that there's calm, and that idea of calm leading to intelligent thinking is very, very central to this. So again, little minor bits of humor can really diffuse a situation, especially on Skype where it's not going to distract anybody else. Even in person, you can just maybe write something down. You don't want to necessarily start telling jokes to the whole class because that, unless the entire class seems so tense, because that can create a distraction. When when our dojo over here or on Skype is very calm, very welcoming, that means students are gonna want to come back. It becomes a place of solace. And trust me, like 100% of these kids need a place of solace right now. They're under just too much pressure. I mean, the curricula that they use are just designed by idiots. They know it. Even their parents know it. Their parents will sometimes feel vaguely guilty about it, and because of that guilt, will be even more aggressive. And that's what people do when they feel guilty. They tend to get more aggressive, and so they creating that kind of safe space, that kind of solace, as in like here you're now at Vohra Method, everything's going to be calm. We're just going to talk about math. There's not going to be any pressure. We're not going to be yelling at you. We might tell you jokes. Obviously, if you do antics, we'll just calmly text message your parents and maybe they'll yell at you. But as long as you're operating within some reasonable behavior, you're going to be in that kind of a calm environment. Now, those of you who are training to work on one-on-one tutoring, this is a very central idea in one-on-one tutoring, and it applies to dealing with the students, applies to dealing with parents. In any kind of a tutoring situation, if you're being called in for tutoring, again, because you remember our rates tend to be higher than most of our competitors because our service is just better, and it's no secret as to why. When you're involved in that, it usually means that a person has called other places first, because other places are cheaper. A person has called other places, they've tried their school, and they're usually, by the time they come to us, they're usually frustrated. The parents are frustrated, the kids are frustrated because they've been tossed from one tutor to the other, to the other, to the other. The reason that we are, and we should continue to strive to be the last stop, is because we have a higher level of competence, and the way that we want to convey that is through calm. We want the message to be, I understand that you've been through a lot. I understand that the last few months have been a struggle, and the school has been bad, and other tutors haven't really done what you want them to do. But we're going to take care of things now, and there's going to be work, and there's going to be some things to think about. But we're going to handle things, and we're going to be calm, and we're going to be relaxed, and we're not going to yell at you a whole bunch. Because believe me, everybody else is yelling at them more than enough. We're going to give advice, and of course we should give that advice, as in, it's good to be ahead of your class. Here are the benefits of being ahead of class. But if you choose not to be ahead of your class, that's also fine. We're not going to beat you up about it. We're going to say we're going to do our best to help you, and we're also going to continue to advise you on things that are better. But we're just going to advise. We're not going to force. It's going to be your job to make that decision. And I'm telling you, if given the choice between a very skilled, angry teacher and a moderately skilled, very calm teacher, all of us are going to pick the calm teacher. And given a choice between a very skilled, angry teacher and a very skilled, calm teacher, it's a no-brainer. Bringing that emotional calm, that emotional control, both in the kind of the customer service aspect of working with parents and the teaching aspects of working with students is a critical thing. It's what sets us apart. It's what sets us above our competition. And it's what is going to continue to allow us to have students who are under so much emotional stress and all this kind of stuff break out of that and achieve just so much far beyond what they would have thought possible. And the center of that is calm. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps, and I'll look forward to talking to you guys in the next one.